Thank you for the wonderful introduction, DTM Suresh. Now, I'm told that airplanes, the airplanes that we use, consume about 25% of the fuel and energy just only during the takeoff. Takeoff is such an energy demanding process. You know, it requires a lot of kinetic energy to take off. Can you imagine 25% of its entire flight's fuel consumption is only for takeoff. And today I had a free takeoff, energy-free takeoff. I didn't have to spend any energy with a rocket booster from introduction. I literally had a kind of a free ride, and I'm already on cloud 9, Suresh. Literally, and it feels very nice with that wonderful introduction. I only hope the landing is going to be equally smooth, and I don't have to push the parachute button or something and have a mighty fall. By the way, this is not from any previous falls. This is from a tennis court. Let's talk about it later. DTM Suresh, Madam President, wonderful Toastmasters, Madam Toastmasters, of the extremely talented and learned Arabian Toastmasters, for whom I always have tremendous amount of admiration. Why do I admire Arabian Toastmasters so much? In my humble opinion, I'm not trying to make up here, I'm not trying to make you guys happy, I'm just speaking my heart. Okay, what makes Arabian Toastmasters always special for me to come back and speak to you is, this is a club which I consider has a very high order of emotional quotient, EQ, between its members. And how do I say that? You know, I see the symptoms. The electricity is there in the air. The ebullience is there in the air. And that doesn't come just like that. There is a tremendous level of emotional quotient, and all of you feel like a family. And it's a privilege and honor to always come back and talk to Arabian Toastmasters. It's wonderful. Good evening once again.
Good evening.
This evening, I'm going to be presenting this workshop titled Teamwork. What makes our team work? Okay. If you really see that I have purposefully kept a question tag there, just for it to be little intriguing, you know, or little provocative within the context of Toastmasters. I have to be very careful with the Me Too fever going around. Maybe I should withdraw that word. Is intriguing okay?
Yes.
It is allowed. Okay, it is in the parlance of Toastmasters. I wanted to make it a little intriguing so that there's going to be a lot of interaction. So let's not call this as a workshop, let's call this an interactive discussion. Teamwork, what makes our team work? I mean, I wanted to have responses, but let me also try to give little more clarity to this context. Okay? In our, we all have come across through different walks of our own lives, be it in organizations, be it in community, in Toastmasters, in families, and we come across many kinds of teams. That is this wonderful team which does its job to meet its objectives and goals to clinical perfection. Just mechanically people come and do like the Japanese way, they just work. And there is, let's call another set of team, which does exactly what the other team does, but with one difference. They enjoy doing what they're doing, like an orchestra. So what happens every time they keep improving. Okay. And there is this lot of this team type C teams, okay, where nothing is clear, everything is horrible. There is there is a lot of politics, a lot of disputes, a lot of confusions. Okay. Now, what is that one factor that makes all teams work nicely? I thought it was a little bit of interaction time. Anything else? Let's shoot some quick answers before I move on. Because I think we are going to finally agree upon something agreeable for all of us. What makes teams work? Wednesday evening, I think it has to be with questions and interactions. Yes.
Emotional binding.
The emotional binding between the team members. Anything more?
Motivation.
Motivation, wonderful.
Sense of purpose.
Sense of purpose, great answer. Sense of purpose.
Agreement between the team members.
Okay. Unity or agreement between the team members would be one.
Yes. Accountability.
Accountability for individual members' actions. Because I'm sure there are going to be many things, but I'm going to a little bit add more technical clarity to what I am trying to move on to. Okay? So I will have more questions and answers later following them. But let me try to explain, I don't know, the team evolution theory. Don't worry, I'm not going to take a class or something. Okay. We are going to fall back on some concepts and then have an interesting story kind of discussions. Okay. How many of you I'm sure many of you must have heard about this team evolution theory, the different stages of a team evolution. That's maybe in your college or in your corporate training. Bruce Tuckman is the name of the coach. All teams, if you put any number of people together as a group and give them a task, they don't start performing this task straight away. Okay? They take time, okay, to form and perform. Form and perform. Okay? So they go through different stages of recognizable, stages. What are they called? Forming, not classroom, and I'll go very quickly from this forming stage, storming stage before a team is going to perform. Forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. This might sound like nice rhyming words. Any of you have read about this anywhere? Bruce Tuckman? Yes, thank you. So what happens in the norming and storming stage? Forming and storming stage. Let me quickly explain this to you. Before a team converts its efforts into performance, initially the forming stage is the stage when all members get introduced, nominated. Let's say the division director forms his division team, okay, where the members come from different clubs, different backgrounds. They get introduced. They get introduced so nicely, so politely, so wonderfully, even though they may be really not very nice. I'm just trying to test for a way. Okay, but we all get positioned ourselves very nicely. I'm just joking. All of us are wonderful. We are in Arabian Toastmasters. And we try to understand what is our role. Okay? And we try to understand what is the team up to. We are a little bit anxious at this stage, at the forming stage. I'm going to be a little fast here because, and what the storming stage, which is the most critical stage in any team performance. Let us just, for the sake of commonality, assume the cross-functional team in your organizations or a division conference team where people come from different backgrounds, okay, have different styles and different ways of doing things. The storming stage is the crucial stage where people start pushing their boundaries. I think he can do it better in my way. What happens during that stage is where you have the objective and how to fulfill the objective and reach the goals. It gets debated. And you are trying to agree upon the approach and action plans. So that obviously differences do crop up. You don't like some people's styles. You don't like the way some people respond. You don't like the way some people prioritize. There's a lot of heat, frustration when you go through this stage, conflict. And even some members jockey for different positions. They want to enlarge their roles. It's a very difficult stage in any team formation or team evolution. Okay? At the end of storming stage, people start norming, normalizing. That is norming. Okay? And what happens in the norming stage? There's a little bit of better chemistry. People start understanding the perspectives of how an Arabian Toastmasters would approach a thing from an elite Toastmasters perspective or from JTC's perspective. I'm just using this as an example. It could be different country, different cultures, different backgrounds. It can be really difficult and really hard, and it is really harsh. But at the end of the storming, people start appreciating the viewpoint of others. They start socializing a little better, and the commonality of the goal for which the team is formed is appreciated. Resolution stage. And after that, once everything is fine, you start performing. You agree on the ways and you start performing. It's an execution stage. Here, there is a lot of good chemistry. The processes get established. The systems get established. Okay? And the team starts performing. But before it starts performing, it has to go through all these stages. Most important stage, the storming stage. And once the job is done, the team is adjourned. You go and do a different task. Some people are not even comfortable about adjournment because they are used to a comfort zone. They are used to doing a particular role. I want to be the club president of Arabian Toastmasters. Why do you want to give me up? Okay? For example. I have no about you. I'm just telling you. Okay. So, but even that there's anxiety even during adjournment. But the team evolution theory is a wonderful theory if you have to understand. Any team, doesn't matter whether you're a Toastmaster, whether you're a in a corporate company, whether you're in a football team, whether in a music orchestra, every team will have to go through these stages, knowingly or unknowingly. Okay? Now, here is the startling fact. Majority of the team, doesn't matter where you are from, which organization you belong to, do not get past the storming stage. Okay? That's the challenge. That is the challenge for a team work or a team performance. How to make a team work like this wonderful, these two teams, why the team is struggling. If you remember, there are two, like I said, some teams work fine, some teams don't. Because of this, the struggles of the storming stage, that doesn't mean tasks are not done. That doesn't mean goals are not accomplished. There are some super task masters in any particular team. Toastmaster woman, DTM money. Like these guys can, conduct a division conference with their just two hands, with the help of few members. Okay, but the tasks are not. The team is not performing or accomplishing the task the way it is expected to be done. The way all the role players have to play the roles and enjoy doing what they are doing, that doesn't happen. So that is a team failure. And how to make, now let's revisit the question. This is question time, you can answer. What makes teams work? There are many symptoms, many reasons, but if you can quickly, within a minute, we can all choose what's the one major causal factor or the umbrella factor that makes teams work fine.
Involvement of the team members.
Involvement, wonderful. But what creates that involvement? Motivation. Okay. Who is responsible for?
Leader.
Wonderful. I think it is. I thought we will take time. We are smart. We are smart. No smart. It's the leader. The leadership, and it's the leadership which makes teams perform like an orchestra. It is the leadership which sets the right culture to be in place. Going forward, it is the leadership. Why? Because why I'm talking about culture, we will come to culture. Leadership sets the norms for the right individual behavior. And right individual behavior sets the norms for a beautiful team behavior. And when you have beautiful team behavior, you have great systems. And you have great societies and so on and so forth. That is how teams start enjoying and learning from each other with lots of mutual respect and a lot of respect to the commonality of the goal that they want to achieve. Okay? Now, what is leadership? How is this possible? How do we connect the leadership? Yes, by logic, and we are all practicing leaders. We have a lot of leaders sitting here, so we got the answers straight away. But how do we connect this leadership to a beautiful team work and team performance? Let's quickly look at what it does and how it works. Any thoughts before that? Respecting each other. Wonderful. Yes, that is one of the important qualities of great teams. Yes.
Set expectations.
Empowerment. Yes. That has to,
The leader has to set expectations.
the
The
leader
leader has to set expectations.
set the expectations clear. Yes, it has to be. Make the goals very clear. Vision very clear.
Listen to everyone.
Okay. Listen. Have a lot of empathy and listen. Very important. You seek to be seek to understand first. And seek to be understand second. Stephen Covey said. I think that's a very important quality of leader. But how do I connect the leadership to the team performance? I have a quick flow sheet for you. Leadership is what it sets in place in an organization or in a club or in a community or in a game. Leadership sets in place the right culture. Okay? Right culture that the team or the company or the organization has to follow. What is culture? How do we define culture?
So behaviors.
Acceptable by all.
It's a set of, someone said set of, it's a collective behavior. I think it is the common set of value and belief systems in a group. We call it as culture. Okay? It will be better, it will be clearer when we give examples and we discuss. So, the culture, leadership drives the right culture to be practiced in order to achieve the business goals of an organization or a club or whatever. Okay? Which is going to be built strongly on a common set of value and belief systems. And what is it going to do? What that is going to drive? It is going to drive everything many of you have said. The consistent behavior standards between all members. You come to Arabian Toastmasters, there is consistent behavior between most of the members. They all love Arabian Toastmasters. They would die for Arabian Toastmasters, especially when Mohammed Thomas is going to be here. Okay? I mean, consistent systems. I'm just trying to use this name to make you about this. Okay? And systems, and when you have common value and belief systems in place, you're going to set all these things beautifully, establish and practice, and believe across the members of a particular team. And what does it result in? It results in great team spirit and wonderful teamwork. Okay, we talked about, is it clear? Yep. Yeah, we talked about culture, we live in Dubai. Okay, Dubai is the petrochemical manufacturing hub where most of the petrochemicals are produced here. And most of us are in the manufacturing industry. What is the culture in a petrochemical manufacturing industry? What is the culture driven on?
Safety.
Wonderful. Safety, sustainability, and responsible care. Without all of them are profit-making organizations. They need flows, okay? But without compromise on safety, sustainability, and responsible care. What is the culture in a hotel industry? Hospitality and customer care. Wonderful, wonderful. I will only get right answers when I repeat. So, why I'm saying this, can we see culture? We cannot see the culture. That's why they say culture is like a wind. You can only feel the effects of a culture. You cannot see the culture. What are the effects that you get to see in an organization's culture? These are the ones. Systems, expectations, behavior standards. So establish the right behavior standards. Set the expectations clear. Give very user-friendly systems like in some of the multinational companies. Then your teams will work beautifully. Now, since we are in Toastmasters, I wanted to just, how can we define what is Toastmasters International's culture? We have I think we have a vision statement, mission statement. Unfortunately, I don't remember it now, honestly speaking. But we have core values. How can we define the culture in Toastmasters practiced and believed by Toastmasters International? What I did, I'm going to help you here. What are the core values of Toastmasters International? I know it because I prepared. Anyone is DTM Peri here? He will be by heart, he will tell everything. He is so good at this. Okay. Integrity, core values of TMI. Integrity, dedication, excellence, service, respect. These are the core values of TMI. If you go to TMI website, you can find this here. Okay? Find it. I thought if I rearrange these values must have been derived from the culture which the leadership of TMI does believe and propagate. Okay. So I tried to rearrange this core value. I'm not making it up. You can find the TMI website. It's there. Okay. Integrity and dedication to excellence. Okay. Service to its members and respect for the individual. Can we say this kind of reflects the culture of TMI? I mean, we are committed to excellence without compromise of integrity and with complete dedication in whatever we do. We are supposed to do at least. Service to its members without maintaining respect for the individuals. This is the culture. So you can derive the culture of, you can try to understand the culture of an organization when you go through the value statements of the organization, which I think most of our organizations do have, including TMI. Okay? So leadership drives culture, culture drives value systems and beliefs, and the way things are done, and that, if you're done very well, promotes fantastic team work and team performance. The key word is leadership, right? We are all leaders. It's the leadership which is going to drive everything. It's the leadership which is going to make everything happen. We are all practicing leaders. And from different walks of life, from maybe Toastmasters, maybe organization, maybe community. But in my humble opinion, I think practical wisdom demands that as leaders, as practicing leaders, we need to do two things every now and then, periodically. Number one, we need to refresh, even though we may be practicing leaders, we need to refresh those wisdom statements and definitions of leadership given by those great people. And try to calibrate ourselves. Are we doing something like this? I'm sure I'm doing nothing what Mahatma Gandhi said. Okay, but at least am I doing something? Okay, we need to try and calibrate whether we are somewhere there. And use Mahatma Gandhi's name. I can understand some of you are just blinking. Okay, you can choose whichever leader you want. Maybe you can use Mukesh Ambani. Okay? or Elon Musk. Okay. And one is refresh. Okay, yourself against the definition of leadership. Are you anywhere close to that? Number two, everything is changing in this world. Okay. Those DTM Suresh and I are old-fashioned guys. Most of the times we are in the ties and very neatly dressed, very disciplined. Look at Toastmaster Vijay. He's always with the t-shirt inside and his cool jacket, cotton jacket also. Everything is changing in this world. Right? So leadership also needs to be updated. Because leadership practices, leadership values, the styles of leadership also needs to be updated. Okay? That is like software goes as version 1.0, 2.0, 3.4. Leadership also has to go through leadership 2.0 and 3.0. So what we are going to do today, okay, just to keep the interaction, I'm just going to request your definition. We will look at the definition of leadership very quickly so that we are able to drive our teams very well. And I'm also going to share with you some key protocols to practice leadership. I mean, in day-to-day life, whatever we are going to do. Doesn't matter whether we have to be a position-based leader, anything that we may do. I'm going to share with you some key protocols. And finally, I'm going to share with you success criteria that we need to look for in our team. Okay? Some important success criteria and some important for the team perspective. Key leadership protocols. That's what we are going to look at today. And it's not mine. I'm just lifting off from my coach's class, Robin Sharma's Personal Mastery Academy, and I'm going to share it with you. By no means it's a complete list. Okay? It is just, I thought these are all the important ones which I could share with you within this 45 minutes. So, before I move on to those key protocols, can we come up with some definitions of leadership that we remember? Something comes to me. It's a very, you're not very serious. Come on, again, what is it?
There is a journey or process to achieve the defined goal.
Okay. Leadership is a process to achieve, let's say, excellence or a defined goal.
Ability
Anything
to
more?
lead the team towards the goal.
Ability to lead, wonderful. Ability to lead a team or a group of members towards achieving a goal. Converting a dream into a reality. Yes?
Take responsibility for the result, whatever the result has been. The relationship.
Yes, by the way, there is no one complete definition for leadership because so many wise men have lived this world since time immemorial. All of them have come up with definitions. All of them are mostly correct. But I feel the one articulated by this gentleman, can you recognize who he is?
Not but
Ralph C. Smedley. That's right, it's Ralph C. Smedley. What he had, he came up with one of the beautiful definitions of leadership, which I have discussed with you before in the past. Leadership, this is how he defined leadership. He has so many definitions. Leadership is the ability to look ahead, think ahead, plan ahead, and influence people to go ahead after the plan. Look ahead, think ahead, plan ahead, and influence people to go ahead after the plan. A completely holistic, all-encompassing important activities of a leader. Every one of those actions are very vital from a leadership, as it covers many of those things that you mentioned. But the most important thing, in my personal opinion, is influencing people. How do you influence people? What Nelson Mandela did, what Mahatma Gandhi did, what Martin Luther King did. Influencing people to go ahead where they wanted them to go. And you cannot force them. Okay? You have to make them believe. I think that's a wonderful definition. That may be a lot of words. So what I did a little interpretation of this. I think, in my opinion, this is also a very simple and nice definition of leadership. Leadership, just remember, is always about two always. Just two always. Leadership is just two always. Always stay inspired. And always go inspired. Or go inspiring. Very simple, very easy. It sounds so easy, but actually it is not. Right? How do you stay inspired always? Lots and lots of learning. Lots of commitment, lots of listening, lots of understanding, lots of empathy, understanding the differences. I mean, so when you keep doing it again and again regularly, you stay inspired. And how do you go inspired? It requires lots of energy. Go around educating people, and go around, convincing people on what's the question, and redefine the purpose of our existence sometimes. So, always stay inspired. Always go inspired. I think two quick definitions of leadership. Now, I'm going to share with you some of the key protocols. I don't know what is protocol. It is some thinking tools. If we have these thinking tools and we start practicing these tools on a day-to-day basis, definitely I think our leadership pathway is going to move towards excellence. Okay. Robin Sharma School again, heavily, and I'm also using John Maxwell and Simon Sinek into this case. Nothing belongs to me. First, protocol number one, if you have to become a practicing leader, install a mindset to lead without a title. Okay. Install a mindset to lead without a title. Leadership of olden days required for symbolic of power, position, and authority. Alexander the Great, power, position, and authority. Leadership 2.0 demands none of these things. You don't need a big office. You don't need a big title. You don't need a position of power. You don't need to have any kind of formal authority. Leadership is a way of being. Leadership is a way of operating through your days. Okay, this might sound a little abstract, but we are going to discuss a little further about this. In fact, what Robin Sharma said, if you are a breathing human being, of which all of us are, then you can be a leader. If you are a breathing human being, you can be a leader. You not only have the opportunity to be a leader, but you have the responsibility to be a leader and practice leadership in your day-to-day life. That's the very true purpose of our existence. Not only in our office, not only in Toastmasters, not only in, let's say, in our communities, and not only in our societies, even in our personal life, we need to practice leadership. No matter what you do, just think that you are a leader and approach. And again, leadership is about making a difference in others' lives. How do you do it? On a practical basis, on a day-to-day basis. If you really ask me, it all starts with how you plan your days. How effectively you plan your days. How you plan your learning on a regular basis. Learning for a purpose, not just your official work or business, something beyond that, something beyond yourself, for a larger cause. How do you keep learning? How do you keep connecting? How do you keep encouraging people? How do you show your empathy for people? And how do you make the positive impact on people and make them feel better than how they felt before they met you? Let me repeat. How do you make the positive impact on the people that you connect with and make them feel better than how they felt before they met you? That is leadership. Okay. And leadership is about making the positive difference in others' life. Every one of us can do it. You may be a mom or dad at home doing nothing. Still you can practice strong leadership. Every one of us working here can go to our work every day and produce the very best that we possibly can. We don't need a title. And every one of us, especially in today's world, when there is so much of negativity, so much of hatred around, can induce a lot of positivity. We don't need a title for that. We just have to practice leadership. That is what you do by installing your mindset to lead without a title. Because now you cannot be a better person than the human being that you are. You cannot be a better leader than the being that you are. So convert your humanity into a leadership quality. That's what it says. That's number one. Number two, protocol number two. Is there anything that's unclear in this? Number one, to lead without a title. Protocol number two. The job of a leader is to grow more leaders. DTM Suresh mentioned some humble words about me. Thank you. I felt very happy. That's why I was flying. Job of a leader is to grow more leaders. If you are a leader and if you cannot grow leaders faster than your peers, then you are not a leader, you are a follower. Understand? If you are not growing leaders faster than your peers, then you are not a leader, you are a follower. Because why? Leadership, what is it? It's a legacy. Leadership has to be a process continuum. Leadership cannot stop just with you. It has to go on. And how do we grow more leaders? Empower them. Yes. And then how do we grow more them? Educate them. Share your knowledge. Share your models of mastery. Share the methodologies of your success. Share the pathways to success, excellence. What we do in Toastmasters, we are always sharing. Mentoring, we are growing leaders. We are definitely growing leaders. At work environment, collaborate with your employee. Celebrate the success or failure of one of your smallest of the employees. he'll feel great. That empathy, that encouragement is going to make him improve his self-belief and he will start becoming a leader. How do we grow leaders at home, which is the toughest environment? How do we
Appreciate.
appreciate wonderful?
Love.
Love, yeah, love is very essential. I think love is the final element. I think great parenting, introduce the children to great books, great habits, great sports, great value systems. And it's not easy, by the way, especially if you have teenage children. I can see many people laughing. Okay. You have to, that's where your listening and adaptive skills as a leader is going to be put to test. You cannot force your ways with them. You have to adapt to their style, go along with them, understand their perspectives, and then try to give them something to make them leaders. Bring them to YLP. Okay? Fine. The job of a leader, number 2 protocol, is to grow more leaders. Okay? The third, very important one in my perspective, is we are going to spend little time here, because it's very important. Follow the 3I practice regularly as a leader. If you want to become an effective, amazing practicing leader. What are the 3 I's that we are talking about? Obvious guesses. Inspire. Wonderful. Amazing. One has already seen this slide. Influence. One more I. Not I love you. It's impact. Okay? Inspire, influence, and impact. I think as leaders, we have to be inspirational. Whatever be the walk of your life, you have to be strongly inspiring your followers, your members, your team members. You cannot force your ways with them. I'm having Steve Jobs picture here. There are Steve Jobs, it will be Jeff Bezos of Amazon, it will be Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. We keep on repeating their names, but we can't help it. Denzel Washington. They're all great leaders, very highly inspirational. If you listen to them, they are amazing guys. And they mean what they say. And they act the way they say. I don't know how many of you know about Steve Jobs. Was he a nice guy to work with? He was very tough taskmaster. Everyone says that he was very difficult, a very nasty person to work with. But if you have to pull out, I visited once the Apple office on a tour. But if you have to pull out the ex-Apple employees, and if you go spend a lot of time there, and if you have to conduct a poll about who was the most inspiring leader that they ever faced, they're all going to poll Steve Jobs. He always inspired product differentiation to perfection. There is this little story about Steve Jobs. That's what I said. When Steve Jobs was an young adult, DTMJ, I don't know if you have read the story. His dad once asked Steve Jobs to go and paint the fence outside the house. You read this? And what Steve Jobs picked up the tools. He was about 16 something years old. Picked up the tools, went outside, and started painting the fence, and came back after a while, and he said, "Dad, I painted the fence." Right? And then his dad went outside, inspected the fence, and then he looked at Steve. "Steve, you have done a great job. You painted the outside of the fence so very nicely. But what about the inside?" And Steve said, "But Dad, no one's going to look at the inside." For which his dad said, "We will see. We will." Now just fast forward this story. It's a real story, by the way. A couple of decades when Steve Jobs was sitting with his team of design engineers who are going to finalize the design of Apple Macintosh computer. I don't know how many of you remember. One of the nice versions, one of the initial launches. And this is what Steve Jobs had to tell his team. Okay? Look at guys. I want this machine to be very different from the market, from the other products in the market. The outside of this machine should look so simple but elegant, like a piece of art, which it is actually. But I want the inside of the machine should be so beautiful that it should bring tears in your eyes. Engineers are engineers. Steve, what's this? No one's going to look at the inside. And Steve responded, "We will first. We will." And that is inspiration. That is the persistence to inspiration, to product differentiation. And today we all love Steve Jobs for the product differentiation. Every one of us is carrying him. It seems after the first Apple Macintosh design was over, he asked all his team members to sign on the motherboard. I don't know if it is true. So Steve Jobs was an artist, not a technocrat. From his perspective, a committed artist. And he inspired product differentiation and perfection among all his employees. So inspire your people always. One, influence. Influence as a leader, you have to be really influential. John Maxwell said that influence is the test of leadership. How do you influence your people? The way you go about doing your things, the granularity of your task, the way your mindset, your heart set, the way your thinking patterns, the way you get things done. If you watch those very powerful leaders, if you work with CEOs, I've been working last 20 years only with CEOs. That's where there's a lot of stress on me. Okay. But they're so influential. The way they do things makes you believe to do things the way they do. It's so very important to be influential. If you are a leader and if you cannot influence your team members or followers, you can't be a leader. Likely speaking, we see some leaders in the political arena, getting a quick bypass ticket to be thrown. When they find out they cannot influence, what happens? They get frustrated. I think the response is little. I think I'm not influencing you enough. Okay, jokes apart, I think it's so very important to influence your followers. Because, what happens with influence? Influence is such an important aspect of leadership. When people see that, get to see that you believe in what they believe in, they start believing in you. When people see that you believe in what they believe in, they start believing in you. And what happens? Trust emerges strongly. Anything, of course, the leader is going to do the good things. They're going to follow you. Right? Okay. And sometimes, some leaders influence the team members negatively, badly. It's not correct. Influence positively. That's very, very important. I've seen it in work. I'm sure many of you have seen it. Now, once let me tell you a quick anecdote. I think that's what keeps you interesting. Once during my company celebration time, one of the celebration days, a young manager, a relatively very young manager, I cannot name him, he was sitting next to me. Okay, all these contractors and all these safety guys, all those guys who work so hard on the field were being recognized during the event of gifts. When one of the contractor came up, this very young manager, whom I don't approve of even today, sitting next to me, was telling me, Mr. Peri, I made sure I made his job very difficult. He was smiling. I made sure his job was very difficult. I tortured him completely. And now he's got the award. See the he believes that management is making things difficult for people and torturing people. He should have been saying, Mr. Peri, actually, I tortured this guy. I made his job very difficult. But he was saying, I tortured this guy and I made his job very difficult. What is this concept of leadership? Yes, what is this concept of influence? There are leaders. I can see a lot of nodding heads. I'm seeing a lot of victims here. Okay, we see that, right? So be positively influence your people and be a great source of influence. That's very important. Number 3. Before we go to number 3, how do we inspire and influence? I think it's much easier said than done. How do we inspire? How do we constantly inspire and constantly influence? Any quick answers?
Be the role model.
Yes, how do you be a role model?
You do what you preach.
Okay, how do you have to do where you have to reach, but it has to inspire and influence people. How do you manage to do that?
Set your targets high.
Sorry?
Set your targets high.
Setting targets high, but how do I reach them? Targets are very high, but I have to inspire my team members. The way I achieve the targets or the team achieves the target should be inspiring, and what I do should be influencing. Making it clear. It should be the way somebody does something should be inspiring. We all love Nelson Mandela because the way he did things were very different. He was inspirational. We all love Steve Jobs or Denzel Washington because they're very strong influences, what they do. But how do you inspire and influence? That's my question.
Convince
What
the
are
people
people
about
to be a
it.
personal
Leadership.
touch should be there.
There should be a personal touch. Customers, your own person. Yes.
Convince the people about the benefits of achieving.
Yeah, that is motivation. That's motivation. But how do you inspire and influence? Inspire is, make them believe in a higher order state of doing and accomplishing things. And influencing is make them do your work so good that you influence them. Okay. They start admiring. Okay. The answer is learning. Okay. Lots of learning, continuous learning. Learning is not only reading books, sometimes listening, watching, observing, and working on all these great leaders that we admire. They spend on an average between 2 to 10 hours a day learning, which is somewhere between 10% to 30-40% of the day. They kept learning. They read a lot. Bill Gates is here, so he how many books he reads in a year, Mr. Bill Gates? It's there on YouTube. He reads about 50 books in a year. Now all of them non-fiction. That means one book a week. He doesn't put it down, he completes it every day, and then he takes the next one. Leadership is leadership. You cannot inspire and influence if you don't continuously educate. If you remember what I said before, refresh and update yourself constantly on leadership or community, whatever you want. You want to do personal mastery, update yourself on personal mastery. Okay, so enough about inspire and influence. Third one is impact. What does it mean? Less talk, more do. Impact, very simply speaking. It's very important. Nowadays, we keep seeing people, I want to write a book, I want to compose my music album, and I want to do this project, I want to become a professional tennis player in Toastmasters years. When do you want to become a singer in the movie industry? He says hopefully by this is 2018, by 2020. When I meet him in 2020, he's going to say, I'm just using your name, okay? He's going to say, definitely by 2022. It keeps on going. People keep talking so much, and they don't realize, if they fail to create that impact, and if you fail to create that impact, you lose credibility. Yes, is a very credible person, by the way. I just used his name. Okay. How do you create impact? Converting your ideas to execution. There's a nice brain tattoo by Robin Sharma. If you want, ideation without execution is delusion. Ideation without execution is delusion. And a lot of us go through it. We just while away our time. Sometimes we have great ideas, we don't convert them into execution. How do we convert the man here? The kind of impact he or Mahatma Gandhi created was wonderful, right? Martin Luther King. How do we create that impact? What does it depend upon? Our ability to create the impact on the world around us. What does it depend upon? I think I'm asking very tough questions. Perseverance. I think it's something very close to yes. Perseverance is. I think the extent of the impact that we can have on the world around us, Robin Sharma, depends on the size of our commitment to the purpose that we stand for. The extent of the impact that we can have on the world around us. Our own little world. All of us cannot be Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. We can create an impact in Arabian Toastmasters Club. There are inspirational figures in Arabian Toastmasters Club. How did they create? Because they created that impact. They kept repeating their success consistently again and again and again, irrespective of how senior they were. They created that impact. And that became an inspiration for many young Toastmasters. The way they started doing things started influencing. But the impact is the proof of the pudding. Right? Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, John F. Kennedy. Great leaders who proved that their impact, they shook the entire world. They really shook up the entire world positively with the impact that they created. What is common between all three of them? Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, and John F. Kennedy. Sorry? Sorry?
Simplicity.
Simplicity is one, but there is something very common, something that happened to them. All of them were assassinated. All of them were killed. Okay? The extent of their commitment to the purpose. The commitment was so strong, the purpose was so large, and they got assassinated. Still, their impact was so strong. I'm not recommending that we should all get killed to create an impact. They could afford to do it. I'm not saying, even I will not go for that. But keep your commitments really strong. Keep the purpose really big. Not just posting on the Facebook. Okay, and there's a different discussion we'll get on later. So we talked about 3 I's: inspire, influence, impact. Follow the 3 I patterns. What's next? Protocol number 4. Quality of your craft as a leader has to be very high. Great. Be a craftsperson in whatever you do. Okay? You know, the granularity of your tasks have to reflect the quality that you stand for as a leader. That is going to inspire. Robin Sharma conducts an event called Title Summit. Title Summit, you must have come across in the social media. In that, he teaches a process called forming your own personal economy. The world is going through economic challenges, so many things. So people are losing jobs. Right? But here, make your job, the way you perform your job, so beautiful that is going to bring tears to your eyes. And bring your value contribution to your organization so fantastically different. And you will start creating your own personal economy. The world is going to make its way to your doorway for you to hire. And you will create, with the impact that you create, you will start generating your own income. But you have to keep the quality of your craft so high. Marketplace pays for the mastery. Simply speaking, in very understandable language, be the Michelangelo, be the A.R. Rahman of your task. I mean, all of us love A.R. Rahman, predominantly Indian audience, right? Okay. Why? Because they stand for quality of their craft. Almost all of us know what it is, right? Bahubali. Okay? All of us must have watched this movie. It's an example of the quality of the craft that went into this movie. The movie maker, the details, the granularity of the movie making was wonderful, so wonderfully done that it impressed audience across the world. Be it the setting, be it the costumes, be it the roles, be it the characters, the screenplay, everything was so wonderfully done. It impressed everyone across India, not even. I think I have my fellow Filipino friend, Toastmaster Mark, sitting there. Did you watch, you said you watched Bahubali, right? 1 and 2. And did you tell me twice you watched this? Did you watch the Hindi version?
I watched the Hindi version
in English subtitle. So it impresses person across the country. Wonderfully done. My only complaint, it is not Bahubali. As you say, it's Bahubali. Bahubali is probably the third version, Middle East version. He calls that Bahubali. But jokes apart. But it's gone across the world with the quality of craft of the creator and made this impact. Okay. Number 5, protocol number 5. We talked about 5th protocol. The last one in leadership is build your relationships. It's extremely vital, very much essential in today's era, where the attention, this era is supposed to be lacking in attention, like the era that we are going. Well, people like doing business with people they like, right?
Good.
And before you have to make friends with them, before you befriend anyone, before a person extends his or her hand, you need to touch their heart. Make them feel the impact, make them feel the power of you, make them feel the difference in you. How do you do that? By investing and building relationship with them. But there is one problem in today's era about building relationship. I think we all know enough about the importance of building relationship, especially if you are a leader. You have built strong relationship with your teammates. But today's era, the virtual world, the social media is so much dominating the belief systems, especially of the newer generation. They feel they are confused. They are confused between relationship and the desire to seek attention. Okay. People like to be liked. You understand what I mean, right? People just like to be liked. And they post all kinds of nonsense. Sometimes I feel, what is this? Just to seek attention. Okay. And I would say the shallowness of those expressions and comments, get them glorified to a false relationship status in the mind, which is false. It's not a stupidity. But I'm not against social media. I use Facebook and Instagram. But that is between relationship. We communicate things that we can post pictures. Because I may not be looking good, but there are others who look good. They can post the pictures. But to believe that the virtual world is going to be your connection to build relationship with this world, that thinking is wrong. Which today most of the youngsters, especially, are becoming victim to it. And even grown-ups, they're spending a lot of time. They get constantly disturbed with the notification, likes and video games and the comments. This again, Robin Sharma calls this as digital anesthesia. Let's underline this word, digital anesthesia. Digital anesthesia is a disease that numbs you from the realities of the external world and makes you believe that you can really enjoy and spend time on this entertainment all through your life and you will die only suddenly. Digital anesthesia. I think this is becoming a serious problem. I think the next generation is going to really find difficulty to come out of it, unless we are going to spend time. Sometimes they'll kick us off, but it is a serious problem. It's not a laughing matter. No, sometimes I get a friend request in a Facebook. I accept randomly, not totally unknown people. I accept the friend request, and what happens after a couple of weeks, I meet him or her somewhere. They don't look at me. I smile at them. They don't look at me. Has it happened to you?
Yes.
Yeah. They think, oh, I am your Facebook friend. I am not your friend. What is this? What kind of relationship is that? Why do you? It has happened to. I mean, it's not only the opposite sex. It's the same people. The same thing. But anyway, it all comes from the false belief that virtual. Sometimes youngsters keep chatting on virtual media through messenger or nothing, and they think they say that I spoke to him, I talked to him, and how can you demonstrate your mastery when you are not going to be face to face with the person? How can you demonstrate your ingenuity when you are not going to be with that person to make him believe who you are? How can you kind of demonstrate the difference that you can make for the person through virtual media? And how can you make him understand what you mean to him and how you empathize with him or her on a virtual media? It's possible. So, building relationship is so very vital for a leader. Okay? Protocol number 5. And again, one of the brain capital of Robin Sharma. Take care of your relationships and the human connections, and income will follow. Take care of the relationship with human connections and income will follow. So we looked at 5 protocols for practicing leadership. I'm just going to summarize them. Install a mindset to lead without a title. Job of a leader is to grow more leaders. Follow the 3 I practice. Keep a strong, be a craftsperson, quality of your craft, and build relationships. Important key protocols to be practicing leaders. There are many more, but these are the important ones I feel. With that, we, of course, for final objective, we are going to very quickly look at the success criteria for you to develop and build and operate and make your team a wonderful team. Selection, value, communication, performance, not entitlement. It might all look Greek and Latin until I explain this to you. Ask for help and accept help. Ask for and accept help. Focus. This is again Robin Sharma and Simon Sinek. They are great coaches of teamwork. Number 1, the selection process. As a team leader, when you go about selecting your team members, what are the important qualities, key qualities that you will look for?
You should have a right mindset.
Attitude,
mindset.
He has to have the right mindset. Okay?
Skills.
The right skill sets, wonderful. Yes, important, very important.
Right people for the right job.
Okay, the job fit for the personality. Wonderful. Attitude. Underline this word. Attitude. Wonderful. What else? One more, and then we will jump into this.
Passion.
Passion, yes, definitely passion. Little very closer to passion. I think that is why it's DTM Peri champions. It is attitude and commitment. I think we have to applaud him, even though he is. I think it is attitude and commitment. Everything that you said is very important. I mean, sometimes people have to be colorful, charismatic. Okay, so some people, some of them look for it. Okay, but what is more important than every other quality? Yes, you need to have the skill set, you need to have the talents, you need to have the right mindset. But more than anything else, you need to have the attitude. It is the attitude which converts all these skill sets, all these aptitudes, and converts them into performance. I know how to sing, but I'm not a singer because maybe it's my attitude that prevented me to practice hard. I'm just giving that as an example. Sometimes people lack an attitude. Sometimes people go to work, we see in our office place. They think that they are doing a service to the organization because they're coming in the morning. You see them, right? I'm sure. I'm here, I'll even, okay. And they leave 3:30, okay. But I'm not, they can, if they have done the job, they can leave. But if the attitude leads to lack of clarity of purpose, so have the right attitude. Every moment is important. Every moment you are adding life to your years and you are not adding years to your life. That comes from attitude, very important. If you're selecting your team members, look for the attitude. And why commitment? Because today's era, let me quickly, today's era, in this world, to perform, performance is very much energy demanding than intelligence demanding. Knowledge, information, everything is available. The commitment, the ability to persevere and get the job done comes with the commitment. So the attitude and commitment, two topmost qualities in selecting your team members. Right? I don't know how many of you watched the Wimbledon semi-final match. I know Vijay must have watched. You watched Djokovic and Rafa. Okay? Terrific match. That was the finals actually. Both of them were equal in all skill sets, everything, talents and performance. The only differentiating factor was the attitude and commitment of Djokovic, which he made him enter the finals with that. Okay? So it's so very important. The next one, in a team, from a team context, from a team perspective, value every member. It's so very important. However small the member or the role may be, you have to value every member. Sometimes we respect the topmost guy and some people, and sometimes we don't say hi to even people whom we don't know. But we have to value every member. It is so important because whether it is Toastmasters, whether it is organization, whether it is community, again, whatever it's saying. Why? Because every member is important, obviously, and every member has an aspiration. You cannot neglect anyone. I'm going to give you a quick story here. There are Indians sitting there. The President of India, on paper, he is the highest constitutional authority in India. Even though the Prime Minister is the one who governs the country in practical terms. We know what he has, the powers of President. If he wants, he can dissolve the government, of course, with the support of whatever. And the President lives in a beautiful palace. The Prime Minister is in the house, okay? And the protocol demands for the President, I don't know how many of you know, is higher than the protocol, official protocol demands for the Prime Minister. If they are on a stage, sometimes when you see some leaders behaving, you think the President is his chamcha. Okay. It's true, but you know, when they are on the stage, before Prime Minister or anybody leaves, the President has to be the first person. If you have to go and shake hands with the President, you have to wait for him to extend his hand and then we engage. Who are you? A lot of details. Now the story goes back to 1962, sometime in 1960s in India. The President of India was Dr. Sir Radhakrishnan. He was in New Delhi. And you know, the presidents of India invite musicians and artists for a performance in a way of honoring them as a recognition for them during a particular season. Do you know? Yes. People perform on presidential palace. All the great musicians of India have done it. So he once in 62, he invited a very famous musician from somewhere south, a humble musician from Chennai, from Tamil Nadu. He traveled, of course he flew as a guest. After 2.5 to 3 hours of flight, he landed there at New Delhi. The president's men were there with the car, and he just invited him. It took about 25-30 minutes to reach the palace. But all through the journey, they kept advising him, Mr. So-and-so, you need to be careful when you're entering the palace, where you're getting down, we will give you guidance on how you need to walk, where you need to turn, where you need to sit down. Don't be just extending your hand to the president, wait for him to extend his hand, blah, 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 blah. And he got extremely nervous. And then the car reached the palace. The door was open. This humble musician got out of the car. What he saw really shook him apart. He was stunned. I was stunned in happiness and emotional excitement because the person who opened the door was none other than the President of India, Dr. Sir Radhakrishnan. It's true. He opened the door for him. And the musician was already nervous. He forgot all the protocols. He just grabbed his hand. Mr. President, you didn't have to do this. And for which Dr. Radhakrishnan responded to him. Mr. Arunachal, Mr. Karakulichi Arunachal, it's a matter of great privilege and honor for me. If you wish, You can enter politics and become a prime minister or president in this country if you're lucky. But I can never ever be the extremely talented and the blessed musician that you are, Mr. Arunachal. It's an honor for me to come. I want to honor you, and that's why I came here. This happened in 1962. Okay. Still, he left an indelible value and respect and love in the heart of not only the musician, but many generations in his family. I'm sure he did it with so many others. A man of that stature, a leader of that stature, he did so wonderfully well. Okay, that is why I'm bringing the story here. That is the value you need to live with each and every member to the extent you can possibly do that. Just to show you the picture so that I'm not making this up. This is the picture. This is the President, second Dr. Radhakrishnan. You know this guy, right? All India Congress Party President Kamraj. This is the humble musician Karupurchi Arunachal. He happens to be my grandfather, my mom's dad. And that is why I wanted to use the international speech style here. Not bragging, I wanted to bring a personal, credible example. The next one is communicate, and communicate rightly as a leader. What it means, very simply, most of the leaders believe in talking more than listening. Be a great listener. If you have to understand the perspectives, every member, make mistakes. They have wrong perspectives. They can goof up things, but you have to sit and listen to every one of them. If you want to be a well-respected, greatly admired leader. Now, Nelson Mandela, I don't know how many of you know, Nelson Mandela's dad was a tribal leader. And as young Nelson Mandela, he used to go with his dad to tribal meetings. And they had the style of sitting in big groups, 20, 25 members. And his dad, even though he was the leader, in all the meetings, he would be the last person to speak. And once Nelson asked him, Dad, why are you always the last person to speak? Okay. And for which his dad responded, Nelson, it gives me two benefits, two gains to be perfect within my team. But there are 20 of them or 25 of them. Some of them may have a better idea than what I have. So it gives me the benefit when I start listening to them and I am the last one to speak. Secondly, by letting them all speak, I am giving them a feeling that they are contributing to the success of the team and the performance of the process. That way I am winning their commitment. That is so very important. And Nelson Mandela followed that throughout his life. That is why he is one of the most widely acknowledged leaders of this world. Okay? Communicate. Sometimes you get a jet lag after listening to some leaders. Honestly speaking, right? They keep imposing so many things. Number 3, it is performance, not entitlement. I'm going to be very quick in this. It is applicable to all the team members. Now, once people become area director, division director, whatever, blah blah, they start assuming, okay, I have come to this position. Let me wear a badge. I'm just using this in Toastmasters. In real life, also it happens. They have a visiting card, and that's it. It's not an entitlement. In fact, entitlement is a wrong word. In leadership, there is no entitlement. Leadership is a service. Leadership is a commitment. You cannot take anything for granted. It's performance. So you need to mention this to your members. This is a quick tool. All the members need to know that if you have to become, you have to do to become. You have to change to progress. You have to sacrifice to succeed. If leaders have been successful, they have sacrificed so much. You can even read it the other way around. If you want to be successful, you have to sacrifice. If you have to progress, you have to change. If you have to become, you have to do. That's why we have evaluation. Okay. So all members should know this very clearly. Goals, DCPs, performances, everything. The next very interesting one, important one, but a quick one, is ask for and accept help. This might sound a little vague. Remember this, ask for and accept help. Not as a team leader, even as any members of your team. Please encourage this habit. If you don't know, ask and seek help and accept it with gladly. Sometimes leadership is wrongly understood. Some people have a wrong belief of the leadership, that the credibility of leadership comes by having all the answers or knowing all the nuances to a problem. The credibility of real leadership comes from the trust that your team members have better answers sometimes than you. This might sound a little vague. Now sometimes some leaders want to behave like hero. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, and then sometime in the middle of the night they come and make an announcement and getting you all jittery about something, and he's saying that something will come back, 15% will come back, and then everyone goes through a turmoil and other things. At the end of it, another 1% does come back. Okay. The only thing the leaders could have done was having proper technical support. There are better techniques. Sometimes we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to have all the information. Our team does have it. And team members also have to do it. So ask for and accept help if you want team to be performing, not only as a leader. Final one is focus. Okay? In focus, it is obvious, what is focus. We need to always, as a team member, as a team leader, you need to be obsessively focused on things that you need to achieve. There are two kinds of people in any team. There are people who have got leadership mentality and people who have got victim mentality. Nothing wrong. It is just, even I could have, part of my mind could be, I could have victim mentality. What is the difference? A leader, or a person with a leadership mentality, start seeing things that they want to achieve always. A person with a victim mentality starts seeing the things that prevent them from achieving what they want to achieve. We see them in our lives. They come up with excuses, lots and lots of excuses. Excuses or lies your internal fears are trying to tell you. Do not buy them. Run a check. Okay. Stay focused and make sure all the team members are always going to stay focused. To quickly sum up the success criteria for the team: selection, value every member, attitude and commitment, value every member, communicate rightly, listen more, talk less. It's performance, not entitlement. All the members ask for and accept help, focus. We summarized everything. And finally, before I close, leadership and teamwork has a lot to do with humanity, empathy, and human feelings. Very important. And we need to practice a lot of love to practice true leadership. This world needs a lot of love. And if you have to practice leadership, have a lot of empathy and a lot of love. Okay? It's been wonderful talking to you. But before I leave, I have to acknowledge my master, the gentleman, who's the handsome gentleman without hair. If you find anything that is really good, it all belongs to him in this workshop. Anything you feel that there is scope for a problem, it belongs to me. I hope you enjoyed. If there are any quick questions, I can respond. If there are no questions, everyone is questions. No questions? On leadership, yes, Vijay.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
How do you deal with underperforming members? How do you deal with underperforming members? Especially when you're not in an organization where you have the management
Authority, yeah.
authority. You have the Toastmasters, you have Himalaya as volunteers, persons. How do you deal with underperforming?
Important, very important question and very practical question. It happens not only in Toastmasters, even at your workplace. I think, first of all, discussion. Underperformance, we have to first of all find out what are the reasons. We have to first of all have a heart-to-heart discussion with the concerned member. I would, if I were the person who's facing that, I would invite that member, have a closed-door meeting with him or her. Understand why. What are the reasons? Is it just the attitude? Or is there something in the workplace that is preventing him from performing well? Or does he need or she needs resources? Or does he or she lack interest? We need to find out, do the root cause analysis first of all. And then put a solution in place. Okay. This attitude, again, training. I think what I would discourage, I think the answer is in place. Depending on what is the reason, you're going to develop a solution or a counseling for him accordingly and help him or her to achieve or come over that situation. Sometimes you can't do anything. You do it again and again. And after a while it is difficult, I understand. But I would never ever start with a penalizing and a punishment. Practiced a lot. Yes, leader.
Thank you very much for this wonderful
Thank you.
presentation.
the question I have is that you said during the team selection, attitude is a very important aspect, which Suresh was also talking about. How do you identify attitude?
Very brilliant question. I know you have interviewed a lot of candidates. Very important. And it's very, sometimes the people can make an impression during an interview. And the reality is completely different. We are as practicing executives, we face this. Okay? And I think one of the scientific ways is ask them to go, if your company is going to give you the provision, ask them to take a psychometric test. There are scientific psychometric tests which can, give them 100 questions and they need to answer in, let's say, 20 minutes. So it will not give them time to think and, play around. Okay? You can make out. You can make out to what extent the person is honest, what is his personality type. There are a lot of tests available these days. That is one. And secondly, if you are recruiting the person for an organization, I would definitely go for references of the person. Okay, fresh air is difficult. If he's an experienced person, I place a lot of weightage on references rather than his performance on a few minutes of interview. Yes. To which you get to know how honest, how committed, how. I would not look for a person who can perform great, but I would want a person who will be very honest, who has the right attitude, who has purposefulness. So through that you can, through reference and test, that would be my answer. Just a detailed notice. Don't ask a difficult question.
No, thanks.
No, please feel free.
Presentation. Now, like, with respect to the current scenario in Saudi Arabia, we're
Yeah.
all working in a different industry, therapy, sanitary. What's happening now is the roles are being changed. They're being pushed to different paths. People are
Okay.
it's in the musical set, something like this. So, for an example, my case, I was in maintenance, so I was holding a big key. That's the information. Now I'm going to now
Different
get
job.
a label. That's
We are disturbing your comfort zone, journey, constant journey.
changes are very frequent, and in this scenario, and also we know the kind of what is the changes, inherent threats which we are encountering. In this scenario, how do we take this leadership and be happy now?
Wonderful question, but my answer is not going to be very simple. It is a little complicated, but it may not be something that you like. Okay, let me tell you before you that. But during my workshop, I was telling you that every one of us has the opportunity to go to our work and produce the very best that we possibly can. I did mention that. How can we always make sure every day our work is we are going to produce very best? The only way that can happen is we should love what we do. And we cannot start loving that something which we do for the sake of loving it. We should really love what we do. The job should be really motivating, really, value adding to you. Job really enriching for you. Sometimes, yes, we go through this job change scenarios as part of a larger corporate strategy, etc. That is when, that's why this is the little difficult part. We sometimes fail as leaders to invest adequate amount of resources and time on ourselves. Now we have to, when we are in an extremely comfortable situation or a comfort zone, that is when you need to start thinking that, what if this happens? And we have to start investing on ourselves. And if you are not going to be a Steve Jobs, I'm not saying everyone has to be a Steve Jobs, in your own limited way. If you're not going to be a Steve Jobs of your particular task or a portfolio, you are susceptible to all these vulnerabilities. Okay? So make sure that you are so unavoidable, so beautifully good that you are difficult to change. Yes, these changes come sometimes, and some changes we may not like. If you are a process engineer, you may not be like to be put in a packaging unit. You cannot start loving packaging for the sake of loving. But we need to make sure that we equip ourselves, the personal economy that I am talking about, add enough value for yourself which you can give back so that you become irreplaceable. May not be applicable in Saudi Arabia context, in which case you have to leave Saudi Arabia. Did I answer this? Yeah.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation workshop. And you say you need to treat the people equally, our team members and all.
We need to value each individual because everyone has an aspiration.
I try to use that technique, right, the people. But what problem I face is they are taking it
They're taking advantage.
advantage of it. Like if what they supposed to do.
Again, the honesty and commitment.
Yeah.
Where honesty and commitment is missing, this will not work. We are not here to cajole and pamper people at work. They can do it in their family, the wives and moms can do it. But we are here, we are working for we're getting paid to work, right? So we have to sit again, like Vijay's question, we have to sit and talk to them. We have to give them alarm bells. We have to. I do it regularly with some of even my managers. I sit and talk to them. Please don't take your job lightly. You are being watched. The systems in the organization is looking at your performance. Why? You are coming and spending 8 hours of your time here. If you want to waste your time and be dishonest, you're not cheating me, you're cheating yourself. It involves counseling. And if things do not work, then you have to go into actions, disciplinary actions and stuff. But for you to value a member and for the member to appreciate the value, the member has to be honest and committed. Otherwise it doesn't work. I think if there are no more, it's been wonderful. Again, honored and privileged talking to the great Arabian Toastmasters. Back to you.